On Second Shot, we tackle 2 new headlines every week to find out what kind of wisdom the world is dishing out today. And we want you to be a part of that. When you see a headline you want to take a second shot at, or if you're looking for advice, or just want to tell us what you think of the show, email us at secondshotcast@gmail.com. If you like what you hear, rate us on iTunes. This helps us move up in the ratings so more people will see us. And if you want to hear more, subscribe to the show so that the new episodes will get straight to you every single Friday. We love you. Thanks for listening and enjoy.
Heath Oaks is a millennial mogul whose ignorance on fire led him to fail his way to success. Jenny Anchondo is an Emmy award-winning journalist whose sharp eye and biting wit have led to her storied career in television. Together, they tackle today's headlines in a way only an odd couple with a dash of perfect opposite can. So kick back, relax, and join the conversation. This is Second Shot with your hosts, Heath and Jenny.
Yes, 2 episodes in a row of the same cast of the regular old Second Shot.
I don't
Jimmy,
believe it.
Zach,
We did it.
and Matt.
The band is back together. We are on time. We are here.
It's true.
So here's what's funny too. Here's one of the most recent little Brighton World things that I know probably nobody cares about, but I like telling it. Is
I care.
Brighton's new thing is like if you like are showing almost any skin that's not a full covered up shirt,
gosh.
Brighton's like, ooh, daddy naked, mommy naked, you're naked.
Uh-oh.
Okay. Jenny, tell a story about you at the airport. It was great.
So Brighton and I are traveling together, and if you've ever flown alone with a 2-year-old, you know what my life situation was like. I had snacks, falling out of every pocket and everything. I had different new toys tucked away in my pockets, hoping to surprise her and entertain her. Had stickers stuck everywhere to me, and we had just gotten something to eat and sat down. And Brighton, it was almost like the whole airport went silent right before this happened. There was a girl in a tube top and pants. She's just walking around, cute outfit. Oh, her naked. Mama, her naked.
Yeah.
I was like, oh,
Are you seeing this? Yeah.
My gosh. Yes, I see it. That is not naked. She could have covered up a little more for public, but we're not here to judge.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Her naked.
Her naked. We also need to work on the she and her thing, but, at 2.
Yeah.
That's what we're dealing with.
Tense.
She doesn't have much of a chance with her dad.
Well, that's adorable. Yeah.
It's just very, but kids do. They just say whatever they think.
Did anybody react to that? Were they?
Yeah, there were a couple of women who were sitting. Luckily, some of the other moms and dads were occupied with their own, 2-year-olds and kids and stuff like that. And the girl didn't hear it because she had headphones on. Okay. So she was walking through, like she was kind of, the airport was her runway a little bit.
Yeah.
She knew what she was about.
Yeah, she was looking good.
Mama, her naked.
Mama, her naked. And a couple other ladies who were sitting and reading books kind of like looked at me and chuckled. And they're like, what are you going to do? I was like, well, nothing. Find a different seat.
Yeah.
All right. Well, our first headline this week: man writes fake review of an axe-throwing facility. The owner's response is savage. So this is involving Yelp reviews. I think we're all familiar. The business review service. You can get on and leave a number of 1 to 5 stars and a short review of your experience at the place. It's controversial. I think we've talked about Yelp on this show before, but this particular experience is charming. So a man named George gets on Yelp and to review a local axe-throwing facility. Should I say what it is? Does it matter?
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Blade and Timber out in Kansas.
These things are everywhere, by the way.
Yeah,
they are.
Axe-throwing
Well,
places.
we just went to one.
Well, at Rough Creek Lodge, we threw some axes.
Yeah, we
Really?
threw
Yeah.
some
Oh,
axes.
yeah. I saw
Hold on a
that.
second.
I saw some good work going on there with the axes.
He was really good.
Really?
Like, he was very manly.
Nice.
I really enjoyed
in
it.
that moment. Yeah.
In that moment. In most moments. But I
that's
was
true.
impressed by his axe throwing skills.
He can protect the house with a thrown axe.
That's right.
George in Kansas says his experience at Blade and Timber was terrible. He said an employee named Jordan treated my party terribly. He was monitoring and staring at us throughout our whole time slot, wouldn't give us a preferred experience. He went on to say a few more things that I won't say on this podcast because they're not particularly...
Well, and he claimed that the guy was a racist to him.
Yeah.
Right? So
yeah, that's a whole
that's
thing.
interesting because it's part of the story.
That is part of the story. That's a good point.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yes. So our owner, a man named Matt, sees this on Yelp. Hops on Facebook to say his piece. He says, George, I'm so glad you had the audacity to write this review. I don't often get to step in and respond to reviews largely because my staff is so dang incredible. But you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. And then Matt, the owner of Blade and Timber, goes on to explain essentially how Jordan and he perceived this man's visit. He remembers remembered it. And he said, no. Here's what he was watching you because you were trying to underserve kids that were with you, and you were this way about something. Yeah, like you were just a really, really not a good person when you were at our place. So we were watching you because we wanted to make sure you were legit, and you weren't. And now you're leaving a review that's not that awesome. Then you tried to paint my employee in a bad way, and it was just a moment when he said, this is what's going on here. He also, George went on to leave, or Matt, our owner, went on to leave a part of his review in Spanish and mentioned that if you wanted to, as a tribute to Fake George, the person who left the review, he said, I'll give a 15% discount to anyone who booked a reservation and entered the code, and I'm going to butcher this, George es un mentiroso, which translates to George is a liar, before signing off with a simple thank you. Savage review, quite the burn. Any hot takes on this?
Man, the owner, I would encourage y'all to, and maybe we'll put a link in the show notes, this little headline or something, and go look it up, because the person who left the review you could tell it was a very emotional and, how horrible and everything. The owner came back with, like, when I read that, I believe what the owner said. The owner had facts. It was like, fact. Like, well, I don't know if that was fact, right? But it came across in a very matter of fact versus an emotional type of deal, and you see these things will happen all the time. How people really exaggerate a lot of things, and when you're exaggerating something and really out there being fake, and then somebody can call you out with facts of things, how quickly things can go in the opposite direction for you.
Oh, an emotional response versus just a fact-based, here is exactly what happened.
Well, and people just attacking people these days and not expecting any recourse as well, right? Like he expected to leave that review and be able to do that, even though forgot about all the things he was doing, right? And like in today's world, sometimes we feel like we can freely attack people online and whatever, and then this owner's, caught his eye to respond and made that guy look really stupid.
Sure.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because there's a certain line of thinking, I think, when it comes to online negativity, and people sort of put out there that, what's the quote? If a tree falls in the forest and nobody hears it, did it really fall? And so people kind of say, well, don't give any attention to those haters and those kind of people. If you don't say anything, it'll just go away. And I kind of disagree with that, and this is proving my point a little bit in that, because you do have to stand up for yourself and explain when someone is hating on you, especially in an online situation, because people are going to be looking for the back and forth.
Yep.
So we do kind of have to stay on top of our reputation when it comes to that sort of thing. So I'm not somebody who, if somebody says something that's just like about my looks or something like that it's like I'm not going to please them, then that's not something that I would necessarily respond to. But something like this, an experience-based situation or attacking, it sounds like character and integrity and making some pretty harsh accusations. I think we do need to defend ourselves.
Yeah, and Heath mentioned this when we were talking about this before the show. There's an issue of credibility, right? Our friend George here, who's leaving this review, had 0 reviews on Yelp before this one.
Yeah,
nothing. He had no profile, no image. Like, it's somebody who specifically got on to huck a rock at this guy's window. That's what this was, and like that matters. And some people will see this and just move on, and the Yelp algorithm will take his 0-star review and cycle into their stuff. But like ultimately, it's. I don't know. It's important to do your research, I guess. Know who you're talking to and why you're talking to them.
Yeah, when I think about that credibility stuff, too, that you look at, that a lot of times we'll see stuff and you share these stories, or you get this in your head and you don't do your own research of finding things out. It's like if you see certain reviews, it's dig into them a little bit more, to see what's credible. What I noticed the other day I thought was really pretty interesting is on Facebook now, when you see certain stories, like it tells you, it comes up and says something about that website, if it's like a perceived to be a legit journalist type thing or not. I love that. I think that's a really good idea, because I think I sometimes will give our consumers way too much credit, but a lot of people will just take something at face value and run with it, and then I love how this one didn't go that way, how people didn't start piling on just assuming this guy was racist and all these things when, because his explanations back to me was like, I 100% see it. But I also, what I wanted, my real second shot was on conflict management, how to manage conflict and how important it is that in today's world and in any time in managing and leading and anything like that is managing conflict. And I wanted to give a couple of tips. One little tip that I always got is that if you're managing conflict in any way, or I mean, you're managing people, you're around whatever. If anybody ever comes to you and said, "Hey, I need to tell you something," but you can't tell anybody, this gets you in a lot of tricky situations, right? Especially if you're someone leading people, and somebody comes and tells you that, because then if you say, "Okay," they tell you, but then you can't really do anything about it because they don't want you to. You're in the middle of a conflict and it's hard to get out. So one thing that I always tell people when they come to me with that is I go, "Zach, before you tell me that, understand that whatever you tell me impacts this organization in any way, shape, or form, I will have to act on it." That literally kills 70%, and I don't get that time that they stop and they don't tell me, because they know that I'm going to have to act on it if it can bother it. Because a lot of times it's somebody's exaggeration story coming to you. And then
they don't want it to be investigated.
Absolutely. And then you start a conflict because you dig into it when it really ever wasn't. Okay, so then if that person goes through telling you that, then whatever that they tell you, it's actually got some merit to it because they're not scared about it being thrown out there. The other thing is that I say is that having people make the actions themselves versus you doing it, right? If somebody comes to you with an issue, it is, have you addressed that with Jenny, Zach? Have you actually told her that? Well, yeah, I've told her. Most of the time they haven't really. They'll say they have, but they haven't actually addressed it. And I always will try to get them to go manage that and address it. And then if they address it and it doesn't get fixed, then come to me. And then my next step is I always have them both in the same room. I never talk to people individually. They have to come talk to me together, face to face, and a lot of times they won't do it. Somebody won't do it
because
and
they realize they
don't
look
really
internally and think, "I wrote a fake review."
So managing conflict goes from, if you're managing 15 conflicts, you'll go down to managing 3 that are actually really real. If you kind of put those kind of barriers in place to managing conflict,
that's great. I love that. Also, if you don't want to respond to your own reviews online, Operation Reputation does that for you. Just had a great conversation with
Operation Reputation,
with the creator of an organization called Operation Reputation, and they basically manage your online reputation. Like, find out, okay, was this axe throwing person here? Do we need to respond to them on Yelp? What does our online life look like? What's the image we're putting out there? So that's just a total random aside that sort of related to that story.
That's really cool.
But I love the conflict management.
So I would sit there and take about it. I'm happy for this owner. I loved how he responded because it was such a good matter of a fact. And I would go back, and when you're managing conflict in your life is when people come to you to say, "I need to tell you something," you can't tell anybody. You got to let them know that if it affects you, your family, your business in any which way, shape, or form, you have to act on it. That way they don't even tell you if it's not real, and if they do, then you're not stuck in a spot of knowing something that you need to act on, kind of, but you can't because you gave them your word. It gets you out of that situation. Next is if anybody comes to you with anything, don't go step in trying to fix it. You make them try to go address it. And then if they do address it and it doesn't get fixed and come to you, then you always meet with the parties together. Never talk to people individually, because things can get out of hand and they can't, you're going to get told things that aren't absolutely true, etc., because it actually will minimize it, where most of them somebody will drop it and not show up or not want to do it because they're not really in it. I think those couple tips could help you manage conflict in a really big way. We'll be back in a minute on the second segment of Second Shot.
He makes up words, she translates them. Heath and Jenny host more of Second Shot, coming up on RNCN.
To all of my friends in the great state of Texas, if you have not taken advantage, I have a way to save you a ton of money. I have saved over about $3,000 in the last year, and I have no hassle. Go to energyogre.com, put in the promo code SECONDSHOT. Now listen, promo code SECONDSHOT, and you're going to get a free month just for signing up and saving a ton of money. So don't be crazy. Stop sitting around talking about, is this the real deal, and go do it right now. energyogre.com, promo code SECONDSHOT, and a free month. Thanks. Go get it now. Run.
Ready? Aim. Fire. Second Shot is back for another round on RNCN.
Just a little more on that first part. One of the biggest things around managing conflict is actually managing the actual real conflicts and not all of the smokescreen, like made up ones. And that's where I think with those two little tips I gave, like it narrows it down to where if you're, a lot of times you're managing conflict that actually is not real conflict. You never had to do it. If you would have made them face it and things on their own, and people will grow by doing it, because if my theory is if somebody will not face somebody else with an issue that they have, it's not an actual real issue because they're not willing to face it.
Probably works with relationships too.
Yeah, I agree.
Like you're not really mad about the dish that they left out.
Yeah. Exactly.
Right. So like you gotta get a little deeper.
Right. You're mad that they didn't want to do the dishes.
Yeah. So if you're leading people or doing any of that, I think if you can, how many times have y'all had those things where those people go, I need to tell you something, don't tell anybody, and they tell it to you, and then you're stuck like a rock in a hard place, right? Like, because there's like, they tell you something and you go, oh my God, I should really tell so-and-so, but then I gave him my word, right?
Yeah.
Man, just chopping that off at the knees right off the top and saying I'm going to have to act on it, like, well, it gets you out of that so much.
Yeah, then people know that you're not going to be the willing participant in drama too.
Yeah, exactly.
So you're just your name is never thrown around and you're never in that mix.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think you're right. Some of the best advice I've ever gotten from this show, Jenny Anchondo, actually, when you said, when you have a problem with somebody, the first thing you ask them is like, would you talk to him about it? Mm-hmm. And if you didn't, it's because you either don't have a valid reason to talk to him, or because you have some other thing holding you up, and whatever that is probably really the problem.
Or just assume that they did and say, what was their response when you said X, Y, Z?
Savage.
It's not meant to be savage. It's
No.
truly
Yeah,
not.
right.
But it's just, then they're like, oh.
And talk to him.
But they didn't say anything. Is that because you did not ask them and you asked me?
Yeah.
You really didn't confront them. They'll say, "Oh, I've told them." No, you've made some comments, some jokes or something, but you haven't actually addressed it.
Right, and even if it doesn't go your way, they'll show you a couple of their cards. You'll figure out where they're coming from, and you'll have a little bit better of an idea of how to solve the problem. Mm-hmm. Totally worth it.
Show.
Anyway, our second headline, because I don't want to underscore this one. This one's really good. A 13-year-old Texan mows lawns to raise money for school supplies. Estevan Aguilar, a 13-year-old boy out in Lubbock, is mowing lawns in Texas in the summer. And if you're not in Texas, you have no idea the sentence that is. He's doing it for his brothers and sisters, for school supplies. He said when he was interviewed, kids my age usually play Fortnite or play on their Xbox. I just want to get off my butt and do something productive. And then productive turned to this idea. He asked his dad for a lawnmower to make a little extra money. And while he made a little extra money for himself, he said he wanted to help buy shoes and backpacks and whatever else his brothers and sisters needed for school. Super cool. This article came out about him, which obviously got him a little bit more publicity. And if you happen to be out in Lubbock, real quick, and you want Estevan to come mow your lawn, you can reach his mom through Facebook.com/Evelina Moreno, Evelina.Moreno.3. I guess we'll link that in the show notes, maybe, if I can get Matt to do that. But yeah, it's really cool, and it's really neat, and it's really endearing and really sweet. What do you guys think about this?
What's really cool about this, I mean, I mowed yards as a kid too, but I love his why behind it, right? Like that why behind it of wanting to make sure his brothers and sisters have all those things. And obviously, this young man has been, has got phenomenal parents. I mean, it's impossible not to when you're already at 13, thinking like that, right?
Thinking of others.
And when I go back, it's almost kind of an extension from the last headline of kind of that managing and planning with things, right? Like, I think about it. I have a friend of mine that he told me a story about his son, and it's like getting people to do things for themselves versus doing it for them, right? And as a parent, I fall in the trap a lot. Like, Brighton be like, Dad, help, and I want to help, right? Like, I want to be the one to help her, but I also know that she needs to figure things out on, right? Like, like he obviously wanted some different shoes and stuff for everybody, and it's like, okay, go mow yards and get it yourself. And sometimes you may feel like with employees too, they'll come to you with something and you could do it for them, or you tell them to go look for blah, 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 and let them go hunt for it. They're going to you learn so much more by doing things versus somebody doing it for you, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And a friend of mine was telling me a story about his son that, which I think it was such a powerful lesson, I think, of parenting when his son did not get on the football field. I think it was a football field, right? And so he
was benched for the game or something.
Well, he just never got on the football field. But my friend witnessed that the coach was always turning around going, okay, here and there, so-and-so get out there, so-and-so get out there. And his son was standing way away from the coach, Like, not even up there trying to get it. All these other kids are, like, up in the coach's face, and they turn around like, oh, me. And the coach would put them in, right?
Yeah.
After the game, son was all upset, crying, And, a lot of dads and parents are going over there, why didn't my son get in the game, right? He told him, he said, son, I sit there and watch you. You were never up there trying to get it.
Like applying yourself.
You never applied it up to it. And said, and went and dropped him off in the school line and told him that he had to go up to that coach and talk to him and say, Coach, I want to get in and play some more. What do I need to do better in order to get my name called? And he said his son was sick, trying to act like he didn't want to go to school. He was sick because his dad just parked to make him go do it and go, not I need to be on the field. No, what do I need to do better to show that I can get on the field? You tell me and I'll do it. And he made him do it, and his son was so sick about doing it. But I think about that and go, how important of a lesson that's going to be for his son, that his daddy didn't go jump in. His daddy called him out on the things he didn't do to get in that game, number one, and then made him go make the action to actually have a conversation and try to figure out what to do. So I think that was key.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
it's
I
like
love
it's like the point you were making about conflict earlier. It's like what's real and what's not.
Yep.
Like when it comes to things like that, it's like, well, are you really applying yourself? Are you really learning the lessons that you need to learn, or is there something else, somewhere else that we need to take action here? And with this young kid, it's like he could have gone a million different ways, but he's out here like learning the lessons that he needs to learn, and the parents recognize that, and instead of saying trying to find another way around it.
I'm going to give a little bit of a different second shot on this one, in that it does not take a whole lot to be considered exceptional.
Absolutely.
We're looking at, Esteban is awesome. Look, we all want to have a child like this, but he's mowing lawns. Like, I think that we get so caught up in the idea that in order to be successful, in order to be exceptional and to be highlighted and admired by peers and adults, that we have to come up with some grandiose idea. What he's doing is he's working hard and he's being nice. Those are the two things he's doing, and he's covered in the local news. We're talking about him on this podcast. We are looking at him as an exceptional human being. And so I think if you're kind of like one of those people like, I want to be exceptional, well, it's working hard and being nice. That makes you stand out. And so,
unfortunately,
unfortunately,
in today's world, working hard and being nice is different.
It does, but I think that's a good lesson for kids, but also a good lesson for adults, because he probably was doing this for a very long time without any recognition, right? It wasn't like, all of a sudden he gets all this glory and the TV stations coming by and everyone's celebrating him. But he was kind of doing his thing and and working hard, and then he was recognized. But he will forever be known for this thing. Yep. As being exceptional and being a standout. So I just think where you are now, if you don't feel like you're a standout, and being a standout is not that far of a journey. Like, you can do it.
Yep.
So anyway, he's awesome. I love that. I love a good lawn mowing story from Texas.
Yeah, think of what this could do for him too.
Yeah.
The idea that like he applied himself a little bit and it came back on him with such huge, could this push him to do bigger and better things? Like, could he be inspired by this very small action that he took, which had a very big gain for him? Like, I could see this kid taking this and being like, well, what else could I do to make a difference? Like, could I start a charity? Could I become an entrepreneur or something like that? There's a bunch of different things that could happen if you just see the good in people and recognize it.
And say you're not a parent, and you're listening to this, and you're leading maybe a little small team or anything like that. If you find yourself getting overwhelmed and you're sitting there feeling like, oh my God, all these things I got to try to get done, blah blah blah. And if you look back and people on your team come to you, and it's like, well, I'm the only one that can do those things, so I have to do them. That's not always the case. The problem is you don't want to take the time to teach them to do it, because to stop and take that extra 30 minutes and actually teach them how to do what they're coming to you with, that you're starting to feel overwhelmed with, that can take you, maybe it gets you a little behind on these projects at first, but over time doing those, now you have 10, 11, 12 things less coming to you because now they know how to do it. And that's where a lot of managers and stuff will kind of feel overwhelmed and getting burnt out, because they won't stop because they're running so hard and take the time to actually teach people how to do what they're doing
to help get it off their plate and minimize it. You know what I mean? So like, because I think about it on this story that his parents are teaching him that he's got to go out and get it and do it if he wants those new shoes and he wants those things, and that's a life lesson to know that not only is it going to help you, but you're also going to have those employees and stuff going to feel 10 times more fulfilled because they're doing something on their own, right? Like they've learned a skill now because you've taught them and they don't have to rely on you as much. And some people have an ego and think that by teaching them all, then they're not going to be useful, right? That's what happens to them. No, that's not. Whenever you can give others all the skills that you have, and then your job gets easier and life gets easier, your whole team performs at a higher level. That all gets recognized. So I mean, sometimes we go so much and we just try to jump in and do things when people ask us, versus taking the extra time to actually teach them to do it, guiding them, say, okay, click on this, click on that, do that, go put it here, and actually take that extra time. Then it's going to save you a million amount of minutes down the road of not having to do it over and over. Does that make sense?
Amount of minutes. That's it, folks.
A million
amount of minutes.
Amount of minutes, boy. So I love this kid. He's gonna do big things. If there was like you could buy stock in like kids, I'd buy stock in him in a heartbeat.
Don't give anybody any ideas.
You know what I mean?
Sounds
I'm
problematic.
kind of amazed that hasn't happened yet. To be honest,
Stop.
We'll be back with the third segment of Second Shot.
Now that's what I call ignorance on fire. More of Heath and Jenny still to come.
Ignorance on Fire, a journey of failing your way to success. It is time for you to finally go get my book. You can get it in a hard copy. You can get it through reading it on your iPad or your Kindle, and you can also get it with this beautiful redneck voice of mine in audiobook style at audible.com or anything like that. So Amazon.com, you can download the Kindle or paper, and you can get it on the audiobook style. You've been hearing us talk about it forever, and you've been trying to sit there tell your friends, I'm going to get it one day. Today is the day. Go get it. And it will change your life. Get after it today. Ignorance on Fire, a journey of failing your way to success, written by none other than myself. Thank you, love you, and go pick it up today. Stop. Go now.
Kick off your boots or suit up. The choice is yours. Welcome back to Second Shot on RNCN.
ratings and reviews. Hey, did I hit that note?
Oh yeah, that was bomb. That was so good.
You hit
It
a
was
note.
so
I don't
good
know
for the
if
people who were not listening.
It was the note that I wanted to hit.
It was so good. But yes, ratings and reviews, because well, when you do that, then more people are able to see that. Like our only goal here is to help people and serve all of you, and hopefully bring some inspiration, motivation, maybe a little smile to your day. That's the goal. So share the love if you like the show, and it's super easy to do. If you can't figure it out, DM me and I'll help you.
Second Shot Facebook group.
It's not just like, not to say you shouldn't do this show should be first. Obviously, it's the first one you listen to all week, of course. But like just good like podcast etiquette in general, right? It's like tipping a waiter or waitress. Come on. Throw your favorite podcast
and it's
rating
funny.
review. Feels
I've
good.
been recently rating and reviewing the podcasts I listen to, because
Me
I
too.
realized I was doing the same thing.
Yeah.
I was
Sure.
listening to these podcasts and loving them, and I do share them, especially if I know a specific person that it could touch.
Yeah.
But I hadn't gone on and done a review, so
Right.
hopefully I'll get some good review karma coming back to me from writing those reviews for other people.
So we also have the Second Shot Facebook group. If you're not a member, go join. And you know what was interesting? There was an interesting question that one of the members posted that got a whole lot of stuff in there. That was the... do we say their name if they posted it in there?
Maybe a first name.
Okay, so
There you go.
Robin said, I'm curious, what is the first major news event you remember in your lifetime? Oh. That
I
got a
loved
lot of
that
stuff.
discussion.
I remember this post. Thanks,
Yeah.
Robin.
Yeah, that was a really good discussion.
And I honestly want to do something, and I was trying to think back, and I honestly, I can't really... I don't know for sure what my first major news headline I recall.
Oh, I definitely know mine.
Well, I know you would probably, but but I really couldn't even think of what I really can remember of my first real news headline.
There's one I think of, but it dates me, so I didn't answer because I was like, it's going to make me seem like a child, and I don't
Go
mean
ahead,
for it
child.
to. It's 9/11.
Yeah.
I was in 4th grade.
I don't think. I mean, it's not bad. That's just your experience.
It's-
I mean,
that's the. I mean,
that's okay.
arguably, it was the biggest news event of the last
Of
like
course.
20 or 30 years. Yeah,
and not
like it's
everybody
huge.
was raised in a household where they were really talking about the news. Some people are
No.
really politically minded. Some people are really current event focused, and some families are not.
Yeah.
I think honestly the one I think that is probably closest to the first one I remember is the OJ like speeding on the Bronco because we had a Bronco. We had a little Bronco.
Was it white?
It was an old Bronco 2. It was a small one. He had like the big one, right? But I remember like that being on
it was during the NBA playoffs.
Yeah, yeah.
And June, around June something.
Yeah.
What year was this?
So this 90s, right? In mid
Early
90s.
90s,
Early 90s, yeah.
Yeah, I was too young.
Yeah, I remember seeing that, and I mean, because I remember we had a Bronco, right? And I remember that's what I think correlated in my head. So I think the O.J. Chase was probably my first. But there's some interesting
I think
discussions
the Sonics were
going
playing. I'm remembering that correctly.
The who?
I think you actually were right.
Seattle Supersonics.
Which
Long
one?
live the Sonics. I would love for them to come back. Last
Wow.
time I requested that if anyone could get me in touch with Chip and Joanna, please do. If anyone could bring back the Sonics, that'd be great.
Somebody can make that
I
happen,
got a
please.
lot of big
Yeah.
requests,
Yeah.
a lot of big aspirations.
We're going
and
to change
dreams.
the world here.
That's right.
But come on into the Second Shot Facebook group. It has been really cool to see. I mean, we're getting so many requests every day, so I like
Yeah.
that because, like, I posted a question about I'm trying to revamp my website, and I was looking to transition from WordPress to I think Squarespace or something like that. So I was asking for suggestions. Does anybody know somebody who can do that? And I got some suggestions on that. So business questions, discussion, inspirational quotes. It's all in there.
Matt, did you say yours?
No, I didn't. I was actually trying to think. I was going to look something up real quick to see if this was it. I do kind of remember the Challenger explosion, and I definitely remember the. It would have been the 88 election. So after Reagan's terms, and I'm trying to remember. I think this was around the same time. I remember being outside and watching Halley's Comet come, and I don't know if that's a big news story, but that was a thing that's like a big deal that only happens once every 80 years or something like that.
As you say these things, I'm recalling them, but at the time, I was like, nope, just the one stands out.
Yeah.
When was...
Well, so Halley's Comet was in the 80s. It was in 86, around the same time the Challenger.
When was the Unabomber? 80s?
That would have been the 90s.
90s. Because I felt like I should have said that
Yeah.
one, but I'm like, no, I don't remember that. I just remember hearing about it after the fact. Yeah.
So those are the big ones that I remember. The first one that I remember, and for whatever reason, I was very interested in the election, but I was 6 or something like that, but I cared a lot about the election for whatever reason.
Is that the same election as that like rad hat Heath has? That's super like nostalgia and retro. Is that the same one?
So the Bush
that was
Reagan?
the 83.
83. All right. I love that hat.
But it's
a really cool hat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here's what's funny too is go ahead with yours because I think you were about to say something.
Nope. I was just going to go on with the question. I was going to do my question of the day, but go ahead on this topic.
Yeah.
Remember, so my mother-in-law got me the Ancestry DNA for my birthday.
You're on the grid.
So I did that. Yeah, I did the
Yeah,
Ancestry.
so he can't commit any crimes now. They've got his DNA.
So
yes, tell everybody the results.
Most everybody that I've seen's Ancestry DNA is like, comes from like 8-9 different pieces, like 10% of this and all that, right? Like 8-9 different man.
Sure.
I didn't know East Texas was an ethnicity.
Yeah.
Mine is about as basic as you can be. It's about as like I was like, man, I was hoping I had like some other kind of like cool
South
things.
African or something.
Yeah, Navajo or something.
Nope, I was 65% England, Wales, Northwestern Europe, and 35% Ireland and Scotland. It was just
There you go.
It was just basic as you can be.
Heath is white.
Very white.
I was, as I understand it, my grandpa for a little while was into genealogy and tracing lines back. So that was fortunate. I had a hobbyist in my family that was doing this for me, so I don't have to give
So
my
what
DNA.
did you find out?
So the Lewises, right? They came over on the Mayflower, and then during the Revolutionary War fled to Canada because they were British loyalists. So I think these people
there you
are
go. Get out.
about as Caucasian as you can get. I might be wrong because the other side is the Blackwoods, and that's Indian. But for what it's worth, I think I'm somewhere in the middle there. But yeah, that's the Lewis
That's
history.
fascinating. Do you know yours, Matt?
I know the Stoker. I don't know much about my mom's side of the family, which is Caudill, but I know the Stoker side of the family, which we're 5th generation Texans, and then we came over from England. So yeah, very very traditional. Landed in North Carolina, and then just kind of moved west from there.
It is fascinating to hear about, though, isn't it?
It is.
I love it. We're and Chando's from Mexico, from Chihuahua, Mexico. It's my dad's dad. My mom's dad was Di Guarde. We went to Ellis Island, from Italy, and went to Ellis Island and saw, you're able to see the date and when they came through and that sort of thing. So that's our sort of grandparent background, but I do think it's interesting, and I love that Heath got his full ancestry report.
That is cool.
I was just intriguing and all that.
Yeah.
I think all that stuff's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So I started it last week, our new tradition of,
Yes.
of
And they
doing
need to
sort
go
of
to this Facebook group and answer them too, right?
Yes, I'll post them in the Facebook group. So the question today, our question of the day, and if anyone has suggestions for a question of the day, message me that. But today's is, what is the one skill you wish you had?
Ooh.
Sing.
Could be
I
anything,
wish I could
small or
sing.
big. I wish you could sing. You'd
I
be a
wish I
great
could sing.
performer.
I would love to sing,
Hold on.
but I can't carry a tune in a bucket.
I gotta think. I've got a weird thing. Like I like accumulating little tricks and skills and things, which I shouldn't. Like I can juggle and little things
No,
like
that's
that.
cool.
Yeah, and
It's
like
fun
so
at
I've always
parties.
been that way. Yeah, right, of course. And so I've always been that way. Like, and so I gotta think. What's the one that like I really wish I had? Hold on.
What
Somebody
about
else
you,
go.
Matt?
Well, I guess I have a couple. One of them is music based. I can play a couple of different instruments, but I can't play piano, and I've always wanted to learn. I've tried to learn playing piano when I was a kid, and it didn't work out. So I still want to learn to do that. And then I've always wanted to learn to fly. So that's something I
well-
haven't done yet. I know
on a
Heath
second.
has
Could
done
teach
it.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd be the best teacher.
Remote second shot from
Yeah, exactly.
35,000 feet.
But that's something that I've thought about, and I just haven't had the time or money to put towards
Yeah.
doing that. But I would love to one day.
That might be one of those you start like a little side savings account for
Yeah.
and put $50 in it every paycheck or
Yeah,
something.
there you go.
Did you think of yours?
I did.
Okay.
I wish I could sell. It's such a good skill. Like being able to sell yourself and being able to sell something you believe in. Like I've never quite gotten that, and I'm like, someday I'm gonna buy a book or I'll trap Heath in a cabin for a weekend or something and be like, teach me how you do it. And yeah, I think being able to sell is like so valuable.
I feel like I know what Heath would say though.
Oh yeah.
What do you think?
Well, at least one. If he was going to give one sentence, Heath was going to say, if you truly believe in whatever it is that you're selling, I mean, really, really, really believe in it, it'll be easy to sell.
You can't fail.
So
Can't
you
fail.
have to start believing in yourself.
That's exactly it.
Do I know you or do I know you?
You know me.
Turns out I can sell.
She's got it all figured out.
I have
Yeah,
nothing
yeah.
figured out. I just know what his answer would
Right.
be.
Yeah. What do you got?
So my original one for like my whole life was singing.
Yeah.
And I've actually heard people say that you, with enough intention and practice, you can actually learn
And
how
I've
to
actually
be.
thought about at times getting a voice coach and actually seeing if I could be taught, because I'm really bad.
I've heard
I'm
that
not
you
even
really
being
can.
humble about it. I mean, I'm being honest that I'm really bad off. I don't understand keys, I don't know any of that.
Yeah.
So like I wonder like if it's possible to actually be taught how to sing.
I've heard it is. So that used to be mine.
There's hope
But I
for
have
you.
a new skill that I wish I had.
Okay.
And that is, I wish that I knew how to do everything on computers. I wish that I was somebody who just sat down and like it was so intuitive and I just knew where to put things and what to pull up and how to create a website and how to just anything on computers, internet technology. I wish I knew how to produce this show the way that Matt does. I wish that I knew how to put these things together the way Zach does. I mean, I really like envy that gift, and I'm also taking ownership, saying I'm sure that I could learn it. It's not my natural gifting.
Yeah.
but I really like admire people who are technologically inclined.
So if you're
So that's
listening,
that.
go to the Second Shot Facebook group, join it, and go answer this question yourself so we can see what skills you would like to learn.
Also, any second shooters that can teach me how to play piano and teach Heath how to sing, we'll have a little band going on here.
Boom.
Yeah.
There we go.
Hold on a second.
secondshotcast@gmail.com if you want to teach us. Where can they find you?
JennyAnchondo.com. On all social media, just search Jenny Anchondo, ANCHONDO.
At Apple Zackintosh on Twitter and Instagram. Leave a rating and review, guys. Come on, do us a solid, or just subscribe if you haven't yet. It's all good. Thanks for listening.
You can find me Matt Stoker1 on Instagram as well as in the Facebook group. Stop on by.
Heath Oaks at Ignorance on Fire on these social media platforms. And rating, review, share it with your friends. We love you. See you next time.
Helpin.